that is coming into our viewers. Let's in fact take a look at the foreign media coverage, because obviously this is something that both the leaders and the world, across the world, leaders are actually looking at. So let's look at how Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit is in fact covered by foreign media. So let's look at CBS 19 News. They go with Modi, says India stands firmly with Israel. I think that our guest has also pointed out how Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said to the world resoundingly that India will always stand with Israel. We have historic ties, and that's what he has been saying. During his address, he has also in fact stated that there will be a deepening of trade and defense ties, and he is obviously stating they have in fact highlighted this part of his address at the Knesset, where he said, I carry with me the deepest condolences of the people of India for every life lost and for every family whose world was shattered in the barbaric terrorist attack by Hamas on October the 7th. I think that's something that has been in fact highlighted by CBS 19 as well. Let's look at BBC, how they are in fact looking at this visit. They are saying that Modi's Israel visit to test India's priorities in the Middle East. So they are giving this geopolitical color, and they are stating that this visit will in fact be testing India's priorities in the Middle East. So the visit, they have in fact stated, that comes as both the countries look to strengthen ties in defense, technology, and this is analysts however are saying that the visit will also test India's foreign policy as it tries to balance its ties with Israel and other Middle Eastern countries. So this is what BBC is focusing on. We look at some more, in fact, Reuters. Let's look at Reuters, how Reuters is looking and viewing it, as it says that India's Modi visits Israel as US-Iran tensions mount. So they have also brought in the instability in the region that is currently taking place, and this visit obviously is of vital importance during this phase. Let's look at Associated Press. They are saying that India's Modi addresses Israel's parliament as Netanyahu touts mutual alliance. So obviously they are also focusing on mutual alliance, how both the leaders are in fact looking to deepen the partnership between both the nation. And they have in fact also stated that whose embrace of Israel has marked a shift in India's foreign policy. Let's look at DW. Where it is saying that Modi has said that India stands with Israel with full conviction. So they are also focusing on that part of his address at the Israeli parliament, where in fact Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that this is India's stance with Israel. And they have also another article where Modi's Israel trip is testing India's Middle East Balancing Act. So they have also in fact pointed out how India will be balancing their ties with Israel and other Middle Eastern countries as well. So they have as well pointing out. So those were some of the reactions that we are seeing by foreign media, how they are covering this visit. Let me in fact also introduce some other guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Karori Singh, who is a foreign affairs expert, and Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat. Thank you so much, sirs, for joining us on the broadcast and for speaking to NewsX. A very good afternoon. If I can go across to Ambassador Sachdev first, sir, how are you looking at this entire visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi? It's historic, it's significant, but what, as per your understanding, is the biggest takeaway?
Thank you for having me, Shivani. The visit is significant in two ways. Bilaterally, that is the main focus of the visit, and that is where the two prime ministers last met officially in 2018 when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited India. Prime Minister Modi's last visit to Israel, the first ever by an Indian Prime Minister, was in 2017. So 9 years have elapsed since the last visit, and the bilateral relations during these 9 years have gathered momentum. They have been punctuated by various developments in the regional area, most notably Israel's hostilities with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis, as well as with Iran over the last 2 years. India has had its own issues with Pakistan last summer, developing into a 4-day conflict. Uh, all that put together has tested the resolve of the two countries against terrorism. Uh, but then again, uh, that part is basically over, although tensions between the United States and Iran, with concomitant danger for Israel, uh, remain. Uh, at the same time, economically, the two countries have been growing fairly rapidly. India, as we all know here, is the fastest growing major economy of the world and is expected to clock 7.2% plus GDP growth rate in this financial year to end next month. Israel, after having suffered due to the Gaza war and other hostilities, is also expected to recoup its growth, and IMF expects it to grow by 5.1% this year in GDP terms. Uh, with that, one gets to have a rough idea of the economies of the two countries rebalancing, and the areas which complement each other are many, particularly in innovative areas, new technologies where Israel's GDP is a third of the Israeli GDP comes from. It is called a startup nation. India, on its part, has a vibrant startup culture and has been home to third largest startup ecosystem in the world. So both can learn from each other and collaborate. Israeli technology could easily be scaled up to India's dimensions uh, in various areas, including agriculture, including pharmaceuticals, and innovative areas such as irrigation, uh, desalination, and defense technologies, where we are already collaborating fairly extensively. Uh, in the regional and other domains, India has a slightly more nuanced position as compared to Israel. India has fairly strong economic ties uh, with the Middle East, other countries, including those which are not part of the Abraham Accord.
Right.
India's ties with Iran, to start with, are civilizational. It's a extended neighbor to South Asia and has had centuries of linkages with India. It is also important for our quest to bypass Pakistan to reach Central Asia and Afghanistan. And Chabahar Port has been an important project
Right.
in this regard. We also have huge dependence for crude in the Gulf countries. 10 million Indians work in the Gulf. Uh, sending something like $70 billion annually back to India. Uh, all that put together makes India sensitive to both sides. We are friends with Israel, but we also have important ties with the Gulf countries. And
Absolutely.
that balancing act is what you have mentioned in your coverage of the international media on this visit. So
Absolutely,
I
sir.
would not spend more time on it. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, let me also rope in Mr. Karori Singh on this. Sir, the ambassador has been mentioning also, apart from the global coverage that we saw, this balancing act that India has to do. Because of its ties with Israel and also with a lot of countries in the Middle East.
You see, Shivani, apart from the media coverage and ceremonial welcome and ceremonial words, my concern about India-Israel relation is how far the interest of both the countries converge and what are the potentials. When we see the bilateral relations in regard to trade, I think there is not much potential, because the highest potential can be the trade can be reached up to the $5 billion. So that is that may be significant for Israel, but for India it's not significant. But as regards the defense and technology cooperation, I think that is very significant for India, because these days India is focusing on developing its own internal strength through technology and ensure India's foolproof security. And here I think Israel can be very helpful to India. And the agricultural field, because Israel has done marvelous thing in developing and innovating the agricultural field in the desert area. And for that, India has already cooperation and collaboration with Israel that is deepening, and again it may be strengthened. As regards the multilateral, I think India's greater concern is about I to you too, and that must be strengthened. How it is being strengthened, that we shall have to see. And the second thing is India, Middle East, Europe corridor, whereas Israel is very important place through which this corridor will pass. So India is concerned. But beyond that, I think I do have certain suspicions as regards India's policy of strategic autonomy and India's dehyphenated policy. Because the Netanyahu has categorically said that he is trying to evolve some kind of hectogonal alliance against the radical Sunni axis, radical Shia axis. And he has referred the name of Greece, Cyprus, India, and he has also mentioned that there might be some country in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, they may join it. So here I think it's a very significant whether India has given consent to join that sort of alliance, the hexagonal alliance. I don't think India has given any consent. The second thing which is important is Israel is playing a particular role in the Middle East. Say, for instance, the recognizing that one country that what we call uh, so in that case, I don't think India will support Israel's stand on that. So then the more important thing is as regards the terrorism and peace. Every country of the world stands against terrorism. Nobody is supporting terrorism. Everybody stands for peace. But how the affairs converge and how far India and Israel can collaborate in dealing with the terrorism and establishing peace. Of course, in terms of the words, India is appreciating any effort for peace, whether it is the Palestine or anywhere else. So India's consistent stand is to resolve conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. It's a consistent stand. but how far India can play proactive role, whether it is the Ukraine crisis or the Palestine or Gaza crisis. I don't think India will play any proactive role. And as regards the strategic autonomy, I think India is trying to balance between Iran and Israel as well. Because a few weeks back there was some resolution against Iran in the Human Rights Council. India stood with the Iran. So India is trying to make a balance, and here I think Israel is expecting too much from Indian side in terms of Israel's strategic and security interest. I don't think India will be helpful to that extent, helping the Israel. So the problem is India's strategic autonomy and the India's dehyphenated policy, how India can balance it. Because trade policy, potentials in regard to Israel are very limited. Whereas in case of Middle East and other countries, it's the huge trade potentials. And all the more the large number of Indian diaspora is in the Middle East. And whereas Israel has a stand that the Middle East is a mother base of the Islamic radicalism, and that is spreading around the world. So whether India can support such stand of Israel, I don't think India will support that kind of stand of Israel, keeping in mind its strategic autonomy. So India is also watching its interests carefully while cooperating with Israel. So the cooperation in defense and technology is very significant for India. Then the corridor, the Middle East, India, Middle East, European corridor, these are the significant steps in which India can cooperate with Israel. So beyond that, I don't think India will compromise with its strategic autonomy and the dehyphenated policy over Salini.
Absolutely, sir.